25 people.
We got like 2 runs or 3 runs.
Well, it's funny, when I went in,
Gomez or Garcia. It's a good ball off the third baseline. I take it, let it go. First base, ball goes into right field. Right fielder throws it over third baseman. It's a grand slam home run. We win by 2 runs.
This is Hoboken, New Jersey.
Is that game?
Yeah.
It was the championship.
Yeah, Jeff was a freshman, so like for us, he was like
And that's
a
what
hero.
Right. Always throwing the games in center field.
Yeah, he did do that.
You know, that's what the St. John's.
Yes,
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Really good too.
No,
Really good team.
You know, it's crazy. That was you
the
guys.
Jersey did something all over the food pantry.
I mean, we're pretty good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I remember you guys. I'm like,
How many people still beat the
Yeah,
Jersey?
we had a good team.
Yeah, a lot of people.
You guys are
Some
doing
people
really well.
who eat stuff.
I can't believe how many kids I see from like Island Scotch Plains, like kids from that area, you know, like I see the decals on the car, like we didn't have kids from Union County when I was there. Everything.
we have kids in Union County and they kill sad.
Yeah,
But listen, they make a serious
to get to school.
And get the school, you know, we put a lot of it on she listening to playing like, she's also like, hurricane constant, but it's paid off.
Nothing to do with that.
The kids
And
have,
the lady was like,
have
the lady next to it,
That's
that
gonna
sent something down in Florida just to make
Yeah.
it. I was like,
How many freshmen did you have yesterday?
we had 31 show up, so probably another 8 or 9 that probably had.
no, why?
Place out in Kenilworth, guy actually put together,
Right.
sort of like the conditioning that we do on Saturdays that I'm not part of.
Yeah.
So it's kind
There
of
was,
that,
years
that,
ago, 6 years ago, there was a company that happened one year with that.
that's gonna be.
They donated the juvenile stuff, like the one guy. But they were working with charities, and charities reached out.
45, 40 to 50 years
Stuff,
old.
and said, yeah, but like, we just have to do a charity, 20-minute charity. I just have to do a site visit. Site visit. She, all my lessons, and charities, you know, we scheduled like football.
Yeah, they did exactly stuff yesterday. The hockey rooms in the hospital.
Boy, that would be a good boy than any other.
Exactly.
There's a meat, meat.
Okay.
And they randomly like found us and gave us like 400 pounds of grass-fed hot dogs. And I was like, and then I was like, we're chill. Oh, yeah, Johnny, take our shit.
It's quite a
And then I just done.
Yeah, yeah.
If you ever hear anything, I'll try to do it again. Like, if you ever hear any other place, even before that, I think they were.
Is the other carrier coming out?
Yeah, and that's ideal. Those are the staples.
Sometimes you get better weather in January.
Oh, you are, that's fantastic. What part?
They all go home. Yeah.
We, when I was at the sales, we lose like 2 games.
Good morning.
Oh, no, it's 20-something.
Fletcher, you're gonna get under arrest. You're arrested, okay, here? Because you're only on stage 13 in Latin.
the quizzes. Because see if he goes like, I don't know, so you get some. I was like, we can.
Come on, Gracie. Okay, how are you? Okay.
I've actually never seen it. She saw it too. We're watching it.
Good luck this year.
Thanks. What's up, fellas?
Hey fellas, how you doing?
What's up, guys?
Good to see you.
Here.
Are you guys ready to fence? Only at 12. What you guys do? Excuse me?
Like that's actually like
So 10 miles out of the deal, we're going to rescue.
oh wait, what's your daughter?
You have a game tomorrow? Today. What time is your? 7. All right, more guys hopefully will come. Today's dressed down. Obviously, I'm dressed down. I have my Nigerian shirt on. I got this from Nigeria. Spent 7 years in Africa. So one of the young ladies who was going to become a nun, she gave this to me as she kind of went on. Come on in. So, you know, the career day, I don't know if you've been here before. So we try to have different people, just to kind of just to share a little bit. It's going to be 10 minutes, and then, you know, we'll have some questions, and then another 10 minutes, questions, and then they're going to stay around. We'll get a group picture, you know, etc. But I asked, you know, Kevin Coyle, first of all, to speak with us. as a state trooper. John Smith's going to read what they had in the yearbook. Okay, so John, why don't you read what he had in the yearbook?
Okay, so Mr. Kevin Coyle was in the Celtic Club, MS 155, German Club, SAD Walkathon Committee, baseball all 4 years, and also intramurals for all 4 years.
Okay, and I think the baseball player, Coach McGarrett, coached him in, I guess, 7th grade?
Yeah, it was very young.
Okay,
Yeah.
doing really, as a student, had a privilege to be at his wedding and also baptize his child. His father died, he was at St. Peter's University, just died last year. So a round of applause for Kevin.
It's good to see you guys. Like Father said, my name is Kevin. I graduated prep in 1999. This is really cool for me to come back and talk to you guys. Father was my freshman religion teacher, and Mr. Urban back there, he was my freshman English teacher. So it's kind of crazy to see.
You're going to arrest him, he owes 2 papers, okay?
Yeah, I'm going to start with a story. It's kind of ironic that I'm a trooper, because I was in freshman English, and I hadn't studied for the test. And I thought I'd be really slick, and I kind of turned my chair to the side, and a buddy of mine, as we're going through the test, I think, what's this one? Mr. Urban, without saying a word, just walks back to my chair, grabs my test, doesn't say a word to me, and that's it. F. And here I am, I'm a state trooper. Can you believe that? So I'll start with my family life. I am married with 2 kids, 2 girls, 6 and 3. I don't wear my uniform as much anymore. I've been a trooper for 13 years, so my 3-year-old doesn't get to see it too often. So when I put it on this morning, she was like, what's going on here? My dad's a police officer? I didn't know that. So I went to the Sales University, played 4 years of baseball. I always wanted to be a police officer. My father was a Jersey City police officer, and that was what I grew up with. I was around cops all the time. Even my grandfather was a police officer. My great uncle was an FBI agent. So this is pretty much the family business. I looked at my father like he was my hero back then. He drove a motorcycle, and it was just, that's all I ever wanted to do. So after college, immediately applied for the state police, and we'll talk about what the state police academy is like. It's military type training. I had a lot of classmates in the state police that were former Marines, and they said the training was a lot like that. It was really, really challenging. We started with 40 people, we lost at least 50. So that was hard. So coming out of the state police academy, a lot of people, you guys probably, what area are we from? Can we just start shouting out some towns where you guys are from? We are. Bayonne. Jersey City, okay. So all you guys know, the state police is sending us out on the highway. When you graduate the state police academy, I grew up in Kearney, they send you about as far away from your house as you can imagine. So I was out exit 12 on Route 80, which is Hope Station. Now, I saw more deer in the first 2 days than I had seen in my whole life in Kearney. So that's what they do when you get out. And the reason for that is it's to give you a little bit different experience than what you're used to. So I was going to calls where deer had been struck by a car. I was dealing with domestic disputes that I never thought I'd be dealing with on the highway. So after about a year there, go to another station that's a traffic station, learning more about being a trooper. After that, I ended up at home. I was on the New Jersey Turnpike. And out there, it's pretty much a city on wheels. You're dealing with really serious motor vehicle accidents. You're dealing with any type of crime that happens in a major city, just like Jersey City, you're dealing with on the Turnpike. It was a lot of fun chases, that kind of stuff. Locking up bad guys, that's kind of what you sign up for. After that, I actually was on Governor Christie's protection detail. So that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you guys about with the state police. We see us out on the highway, there's so many different units within the state police aside from that. I had no idea about the Governor's Protection Detail. It's like the Secret Service for New Jersey. So I did that for 7 years, and what an experience that was. He ran for president, and I know you guys all know who he is. He ran for president, so I was in 23 states throughout the country. It was a crazy experience. After that, so now I'm doing intelligence. So I work in this area. Anytime someone's shot in the city, or any of these towns like Patterson, Jersey City, Newark, we assist with helping the detectives develop a suspect. So it's really cool to kind of be working like where I grew up. Being a trooper is a lot of fun. It's very, very rewarding. You know, meant for others. I mean, that's what you're doing out there. It's a really great job. And what else could I say? Can I? We have any questions?
You know, is your wife afraid every time you go out in the morning?
She's not. You know, the way we feel in our family is, you know, but for the grace of God, go I. You know, like I was out there on the turnpike, and if you're thinking about being out on the turnpike on a stop with a car, you have hundreds of trucks and cars going by you every second. I mean, and there's no control you have over what's going on out there. So, and then my mother had, her father was a police officer, and her husband was a police officer. She felt the same thing. She said, you know, I never felt scared. She said, because you know what can you do? You know, I felt like God was going to take care of you out there. So, so yeah, it's really not an issue. They think it's more cool than anything. So.
Just in terms of the training that you had, what prepared you or prep for the training?
Oh, the way the academic culture here completely over-prepares you for anything that you ever experience as a trooper. You know, I know what you guys are going through, the amount of homework you have, the amount of time management that you have to deal with. I felt like I haven't dealt with anything as challenging as what I went through when I was here. The academic workload completely prepares you for college and any job that you look at.
What's the toughest thing? You probably stop someone and someone say, "Oh, Kevin, I know you went to St. Peter's Prep. I was a prep graduate." Do they had something similar?
Sure. Not something where it was a prep graduate, but believe it or not, my first day as a trooper, and I'm talking like hours. My first motor vehicle stop. You know, I'm not out there by myself. I'm out there with my training officer. We're driving on Route 80, and we see a car. Has anybody ever seen like the grass median that's in the middle? Somebody's just driving from one side of the road completely across to the other side. It's very, very dangerous. So we stop the car. Turns out it's a teammate of mine on the sales baseball team. The first stop I ever had.
What did you do? I would ask you.
I pretended like I didn't know him, just to kind of screw them. But I took care of him. I didn't write him a ticket or anything like that.
Have you ever had to use a gun?
I have, but not on a person, just on a couple of deer. I've had my gun out several times. You know, there's a lot of chases that are kind of they're stressful, and you got to protect yourself. But never actually had to fire it, so that's good. I hope I never do.
For me, one last thing, you know, you stop a person going 80 and 20 miles an hour. What's the protocol? You have to tell them to get out, or you get out, or what do you do?
So, just talk about a stop. So, I usually have a laser, so that's how we detect speed. So we have a laser, I'll be sitting there, and as a car kind of comes over like the crest of a hill, I can point the laser right at the front plate, and it tells me the speed. And then you pull out after it, you initiate your lights, you pull it over to the side safely. Sometimes people try to get out. We always want people to stay in the car because that's the safest place to be. Being outside of the car on the highway is a bad idea. So approach the car, ask for the license and registration, and then go from there.
What's your relationship, one last question that we get, Eric, what's your relationship, say, to the Jersey City Police, the other policemen? You as a trooper, and then they as policemen in Jersey.
So our relationship has always been good, and I'm lucky that my father was a Jersey City police officer. So anytime that I ever encounter a Jersey City police officer and we have to work together, I always make mention of that because it's very familial being a police officer. So as soon as they find that out, it's very, we take care of each other. And my job now is I'm directly assisting the Jersey City Police with any of the investigations that they have. So we're all a team, we're all doing the same job.
Thank you. A round of applause for We'll have some questions in just a moment. Our second person, Eric Seckel, appreciate him. Okay, appreciate coming. He just lost his uncle. fly down to Florida. Mike Berkowitz, who was a teacher here at Prep, also he was the Mr. Morris at many years here. Also worked in the treasurer's office, and so Eric just flew down to Florida, just came back a couple of days ago. Eric is at St. Peter's College at the university. All right, he's specifically in campus ministry, and when he was here at Prep, he also was in charge of the service. They call him Doc here. I think they may still call him Doc here. So he was in charge of the service hours here at Prep. I'm happy to know him and his family. He's happy to be part of his own life. And so Eric is going to talk a little bit about campus ministry and what he does with campus kitchen. We're going to have Jack read what he has in the yearbook. Okay, come on, nice and loud up here. We'll take a look at his picture. So this was 98, right?
Alright, so he was a French National Honor Scholar, Pax Christi, TV studio, president of the Paper and Pen, MS team, Italian club, Celtic club, Big Brother, Rock and Roll club, intramurals all 4 years, and honor spin for 3.
Okay, I'll read what he wrote also. He says, bad news go away, come around some other day in March or May. I can't be bothered now, my bonds and shares may fall downstairs, who cares? I'm dancing and I can't be bothered now. Erwin Gershwin. Okay, Eric Seckel, okay.
So my hair hasn't changed from that photo, actually, which makes me realize I really need to grow up and get a real haircut. So as Father Azzarto mentioned, my name is Eric Seckel. I work at St. Peter's College, now St. Peter's University, although anybody from Jersey City will call it St. Peter's College until the day they die. We became a university about 5 years ago. It's funny, when I was listening to what the clubs that I was in, Prep really kind of formed and shaped who I am today in the job that I'm in. Maybe you know this, but I didn't know that there were jobs like campus ministry, even though at the time Father Azzarto was our chaplain and kind of in charge of campus ministry here at Prep. I just assumed you had to be a priest in order to be part of campus ministry, and that is not true at all. Obviously, the church is full of lay leaders, people who are married with children, single, whatever. And so I ended up at St. Peter's really becoming very passionate during my time as a student, becoming very passionate about service and caring for other people, particularly this idea of like community service, Christian service. I went to Boston University and I majored in classical history, so the classics, Latin. I loved it. You don't really have a job out of college majoring in classics unless you want to teach. But when I got out, I decided, I kind of bounced around from a couple jobs, and I decided that I was going to teach. And so I taught at a middle school in Jersey City, Sacred Heart School. And one day after my 4 years, my fourth year, Father Azzarto mentioned that he thought I should apply for a position up here at Prep. And so I applied and ended up coming up here to work in campus ministry to be in charge of the service program. I was here for 2 years, loved my time. I was just talking to Kevin, this place is very different from the school that we went to, just in terms of the fiscal plan. But I love my time working with the students, working with freshmen, sophomores, juniors. Do you guys still have a service requirement? Yeah, I do that. But I got an opportunity actually to move up to St. Peter's College after my second year and start there working in their service program. And I kind of just fell in love with St. Peter's College, obviously a Jesuit university, just like Prep is a Jesuit high school, but really kind of fell in love with the mission of working with people who are most vulnerable in society, the people who are, you ever heard the term, on the margins of society? All right, good. Then they are doing something right here. No, I'm just kidding. And so while at St. Peter's, I decided to, I tried to form, well, who are the people who are on the margins of society? Like, who are the people who are most in need in our world? Particularly because, we're in Jersey City, who are the people in Hudson County? And one of the things that we started at St. Peter's College was a campus kitchen. Can anybody guess how many people in, anybody, well, I'll put it this way. Anybody guess how much food is wasted in the United States? Percentage-wise. Close. That's pretty good, actually. 40%. 40% of all food in the United States is thrown in the garbage. Yet, 1 in 6 Americans deal with food insecurity. That does not mean that they are homeless, right? We always just assume that the people who are hungry are homeless. Far from it. People have jobs. People have families. People are going to school. But they just can't make ends meet. And so you have this group of people who are struggling to put food on the table, and then we're throwing 40% of this food out. Now, I'm not making cafeterias and things like that in the grocery stores out to be bad people. Why? Well, your cafeteria, who's in charge of the cafeteria now? Who makes the food? Is it still Gotham?
It's 4 seasons.
4 seasons, okay. 4 seasons will cook on a daily basis for an estimated number of people. So if they're going to assume 700 to 1,000 people are going to eat in the cafeteria, just picking that number. But what if you bring your lunch that day? What if students bring their lunch? Or what if you go off campus to eat lunch? I don't know if freshmen are allowed to do that, but so if you aren't allowed to do that, don't go off campus. If they estimate how many people, and some people just don't go to eat there, they have full trays of food because they cook all at once. Why would you cook all at once? Because if you're online, if you're on the chow line, and they say, we just ran out of meatloaf, give us an hour and we'll cook some more? No. They have to have it all cooked in the back so that, you ever see the magical trays, like one tray's empty and then all magically a new tray appears? So that's what they do, it's part of their business. But again, if people don't come to eat in that cafeteria, if people go out to eat, bring their lunch, etc., they have full trays of food. Now, what would they normally do with that? They throw it out, not because they're bad people. The question is, where do you put it? Where do you send it? And more importantly, does it make sense to go through all that effort to try to find a place for that food? So what we do is we go and get that food, and then we repackage it or we add to it because we want to do healthy meals. So we go and get food from cafeterias like, you're right down here, Goldman Sachs. You'll see my van some days going right down Montgomery on Fridays to go pick up food from Goldman Sachs because they have a cafeteria. They estimate. We also pick up from hospitals, not the hospital food that the patients eat, the hospital food that the doctors eat. So we pick up all this food, bring it back to our base, which is the campus kitchen at St. Peter's, which is in the old St. Anne's Convent, and then we either put things together in the sense that we make sure that it's a complete meal, and then we deliver it to people who need it. Now, we've been open 3 years, we've done 41,000 meals. What's the cost? Labor, so people going out and getting it, and trays. Oh, I'm sorry, and hair nets, gloves, and aprons, of course, because we run it like a commercial kitchen. But isn't that an amazing thing that we can do to help other people? We're saving food that would, as Pope Francis said, you know, the food that, when you waste food, it's like stealing it out of the mouths of those who are hungry. So that's my main job at St. Peter's. I say, I gotta be honest with you, I think I have one of the greatest jobs in the world because I get to help people help others.
Eric, where do you bring this food specifically?
So,
and who brings it?
So we rely, so it's just me and St. Peter's in terms of the community service program, but I rely heavily on my students, so student volunteers. And what we do is we deliver meals every week to a certain site. So Mondays, we deliver to Hope House, which actually isn't too far from here. It's a shelter for women and children. Tuesdays, we deliver to individual houses. It takes a little bit of time, because if you've ever, well, you've never been a delivery person probably, it takes a long time to deliver to a lot of places. But these are people who have homes, have jobs, but they just can't make ends meet, so we help them out by getting them meals. So we deliver to shelters, safe houses. St. Lucy's Shelter is our Friday spot. We do lunches for homeless drop-in centers. Again, we're providing, you know, I think we can all agree that when you're hungry, it's not easy to do things. It's not easy to handle life when you're starving. So what we do is we make sure that they are getting just the most basic thing. And it's so cool because literally, we're literally saving food from going into the garbage and getting it to people who need it. We're giving them a meal. And it's also very important to remember that by handing someone a meal, by being there with them, you are telling them that they are important. That is almost as important as handing them the meal, is saying, we care about you, we don't want you to be hungry.
Eric, we have dinners here. We have soccer dinner. We're going to have a football dinner. And, you know, I'm sure we have big trays of, you know, chicken marseille or ziti or whatever it is. If it's here, it kind of just sits at, anytime we throw it away here. It sits in the refrigerator. Can you use that?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And again, you see the importance though here is that it's not that we're bad people because we're wasting food. We're not terrible people. But again, you don't run out of food, right? You don't want to run out of food, so you always cook more. Because if you run out of food, that's never good. Actually, we ran out of food on a freshman retreat here once. I thought a riot was about to start. Okay, so you never want to run out of food, so that's why we always overcook. But then the question is, what are we doing with that? Where's that going? And more importantly, who should it be going to? And so that's really our main mission with the campus kitchen and that's just a basic corporal work immersive, feeding the hungry. Just giving them something so basic as food.
Great job. Well, round of applause for. Do you guys have some questions for either one of them, both of them? Questions? Okay, yes.
What were your favorite classes?
Oh, English and religion. No, actually, I always say, I'm not brown-nosing right now. I talk about Mr. Irvin all the time. Like, he taught a great English class, and a lot of the books that we read back then are still books that are, you know, In the Eyes of the Dragon. That's one of my favorite books ever. I mean, great. And then Father Azzarto, we had a religion test. He asked who the manager of the Dodgers was on the test, and I'm a huge baseball fan, so that was great. So.
Other questions? Either one of them. Okay. Yes.
For both of you guys, what would you say is the hardest challenge you had so far graduating from Prep? Like with your jobs?
When we were at Prep?
After Prep. So like with your jobs and whatnot, maybe even like college, like as well.
What were our toughest things?
Yeah.
I would say when I was in college, the toughest thing, I was up in Boston, and it was, you know, I had been so accustomed to being at a Jesuit high school that when I went to BU, there wasn't really that religious aspect. So that kind of threw me off a little bit. But I got to tell you, Father Azzarto used to send me up books and readings to keep me kind of centered. So.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge that you guys will face is when you get to college, you have so much more time on your hands. So the way you are now, everything is kind of regimented for you. But when you get to college, it's going to be completely up to you how to use your time. So I think that's a challenge for everybody.
So that's a very good answer. You know, they don't make you go to class in college.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay?
Yeah.
You have to go on your own. That's probably the biggest hurdle.
Yeah.
Is being like, no, I have to get myself up. No mom and dad anymore.
Other questions? Okay. How could they be involved with Campus Kitchen as?
Well, actually, there's one of the freshman homerooms will be coming to work with me in March. I'm not sure which freshman homeroom that is. But if it's something that you're interested in, I know that juniors have, I think, a 60-hour community service requirement. If that's something that you're interested in, you know, we work every day, Monday through Friday, 2:30 to 5:30. So it might be something that you might be interested in doing for your 60 hours. I don't know, when I need the most volunteers is summer, because all my students go away, and then it's just me, and you don't want just me cooking. So maybe if that's something that you're interested in, if you're local, you can kind of contact me if that's something maybe over the summer, if you're trying to do your 60 hours when you get to junior year, or if you just want to volunteer, you know, just reach out. We have a We have a lot of volunteers from Hudson Catholic, because Hudson Catholic's right there. Are they still our rival?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll let that slide for now. St. Dom's, all different schools are kind of sending students because they're interested in it. So, you know, reach out. Father Azzarto always has my information. That's one way.
Kevin, just something on, you know, obviously there's racial tension. Sometimes police have a, you know, bad reputation or kind of being very forceful. How is that related in your own experience?
Well, that makes the job very challenging. But the good thing is, what's coming out of all this racial tension is we're wearing more cameras. We have cameras in the cars. When I was out on the road, we had cameras. We had cameras on every single interaction I ever had with the public, and I welcomed it. I loved it, because I knew that I was going to do my job the right way, and I knew that the camera was going to show that. I had many complaints where people had no idea that they were being recorded. They were saying false names, but the camera saved me. So I think it's a positive. You know, the racial tension is very, very challenging to deal with, but I think the end result will be more transparency, and that's a good thing.
Okay, great. Anyone, last question, then we'll take a picture, and then we're going to stay around a little while. One last question. Anybody? Mr. Urban, what's the question? Come on.
He also is my freshman English teacher as well.
You didn't mention that now you try to throw that in.
Yeah.
I taught Mr. Urban when he was a freshman, until about 100 years ago, right? Okay.
Full circle, full circle. If there's is there one thing from prep, one kind of lesson that you learned that stuck with you? Either from a teacher, something that you learned from a classmate, being on a team, you know, something that's sticking to this day?
Yeah, I mean, teamwork is the number one thing that I realize. The older I get, you're never in anything alone. Working as a team is the most important thing. I mean, look at me. Like, I played baseball in high school, I played baseball in college, and I'm on a team again. I mean, it seems like I'm seeking out teams as I get older, and I think working with a team is the most important thing that prep teaches you.
I would say I don't think I would be in the job. I don't think I'd be the person I am today, and I don't think I'd be in this job if it weren't for the roots that were kind of formed at prep. I think you all take a social justice class as juniors. Some of my history courses, they looked at history not in just what happened, but why did it happen? Understanding whether decisions that were made, were they morally or ethically right? So it was just a different viewpoint that St. Peter's kind of developed for me, and the focus was always on what am I doing for other people? How are we helping others? How are we serving others?
Actually, one more thing. I'd be remiss not to mention this, being in a room with you guys. You guys are all either going to be getting or about to get your driver's licenses. And here's what I have to say to you. The worst things that I've seen out there are all with driving too fast and alcohol related. So slow down. Never get behind the wheel when you've had a drink when you get older. Slow and sober. That's it. So I have to say that to you guys. The worst things that I've ever seen out there, 90% of it is speed and alcohol.
We have just a little shirt for both of you. You guys can come up and you want to take a picture? A round of applause for both of them. So again, let's get a picture. You guys can our two guests can be in front, otherwise everybody in the back. Okay, we have a real photographer here. Okay.
All the professionals.
And Keating, come on, do something for a living.
You want to take the picture?
Keating make believe teachers.
We got hired.
Come on in, move.
Oh, you got an actual
For once I remember the question, I always answer all questions.
Mike, do whatever you have to do. Mike is a
There you go,
real.
read it.
Okay, smile, whoops, don't see. That wants to be a fireman, we can tell by the story. Okay, 1, 2, 3, a couple more, and then Mr. Duran will be the man. Okay, one last one. Okay, here we are. Smile. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Well, that's right.
Oh, yeah, they had all these other things.
Did you go to one of the two sites?
No, I think it was
Oh, did you go to the baseball meeting the other day?